Hey, third graders, it's Miss Hensley back with your Unit 2, Week 3 and 4 vocabulary. Today we will do some science vocabulary, and tomorrow we will be back with some more academic vocabulary. And then on Wednesday, you'll add these new words to your My Vocab notebook on MyNG Connect. Okay, you should have this routine down by now. I don't because I have to record this video a second time. I recorded it the first time with mute on. You can laugh. It's kind of funny. It will be for me later. It's just not right now. All right, so you know how this is going to go. I am going to read the objective. The objective is why we're learning this and what we hope to do with it. And then you're going to repeat it after me. So let's get started. My turn. I can learn science vocabulary. Your turn. My turn. So I can use scientific language in discussions and writing. Your turn. My turn. I am successful when I write all of the vocabulary words and their definitions into my notebook. Your turn. All right, so today we're going to be learning some more scientific vocabulary that goes with our scientific unit, Unit 2, on what happens when nature gets out of balance. So these are all going to be words related to what happens when nature gets out of balance, and they're all going to be domain specific. So what domain specific means is that these words are used in a particular context, in this case, in science language, right? And we want to be able to use these words correctly when we're speaking and when we're writing about scientific things. Okay, so today you're going to want to start your learning journey by writing all of the vocabulary words into your handy dandy spiral bound notebook or your composition book. So you're going to need a composition book or a notebook and a pencil. When you are ready for that, you can continue on. If you need to grab those supplies, go ahead and do that now and pause the video. All right, as with every week, we are going to rate ourselves that before we learn these new words, how well do we know them before we learn them? 1, I know it very well. I've seen that word. I can tell you what it means. 2, I kind of know the word. I've seen it. I don't really know exactly what it means though. Or 3, I've never even heard that word before, right? That's completely new to me. If you want to look these up later in your book on MyNG Connect, you can go to your student textbook and look at page 105. Make sure that you write down the word, its part of speech, and its definition in your notebook. Those are the parts that you will need to add it to MyNG Connect. All right, let's get started. Our first word, you're going to tell me how well you know it. Drought. How well do you know drought? Is that a 1? I could define it. 2, I've heard of it before. Or 3, I don't remember that word at all. 1, 2, or 3, you could put your fingers up to yourself. You could jot a little note down in your notebook where you're writing the word drought. I just want you to think about how well you know the word drought right now, because then you can compare it to how well you know it at the end of 2 weeks. Okay? Drought. A drought, single syllable, drought is a noun. That means it's a person, place, or thing. And the definition is a long period of time with little or no rain. A long period of time with little or no rain is a drought. We live in the desert, so we're quite familiar with drought. We have lots of time with little or no rain. In fact, we got very little rain this year in August when we normally have our monsoon season. Drought. Here's another example for you. Might look familiar. The farmer wished for buckets of rain to save his crops during the drought. Remember that sentence from the story we read last week on Be Careful What You Wish For? The farmer wished for buckets of rain, nice figurative language, to save his crops during the drought, a long period of time with little or no rain. All right, if you need some more time to write down drought, noun, a long period of time with little or no rain, go ahead and pause the video right here, and you can hit play when you're ready to start again. We're going to move on to our second word. All right, get those fingers ready. Our second word is ecosystem. How well do you know ecosystem? Do you know it very well? Could you tell me what an ecosystem is? Maybe you've heard it before or read it before, but you're not quite sure. Or you've never heard nor seen ecosystem before in your life. Go ahead and write ecosystem down in your notebook, ecosystem, and put a little 1, 2, or 3 next to it to say how well you know it right now. Okay. An ecosystem, ecosystem, 4 syllables. It's a noun. It's also a person, place, or thing, and it means a group of animals and plants, the place they live in, and how they interact. Okay? An ecosystem. So my house could be considered an ecosystem. It's the place that I live, and I live here with my mom, my dad, my son, 3 dogs, and 3 cats, and a lot of plants because my mom likes to grow houseplants. Okay? So how we all interact and where we live is our ecosystem. I accidentally pressed the button while I was talking, so you guys all got to see the other example I have for you here. This pond is an ecosystem, right? The ecosystem at the pond benefits from having good human caretakers. So the ecosystem, the location is the pond. The animals are frogs, tadpoles, flies, snails, and fish, right? And then there's plants. There's water weeds. It looks like there's some other plants around the edge of the pond, probably some grasses. How all of those things interact with each other is an ecosystem. Okay. If you need more time, ecosystem is a long word and it's a little bit of a long definition. Go ahead and push pause right now. We're going to move on to the next word. All right. Our third word is 2 words. How's that go? But they're keywords. Food chain. When you use the word food and chain together, what does that mean in science? Do you know? Give me a 1, 2, or 3. I know what a food chain is. Number 1. Or, I've heard of a food chain before. I'm not talking McDonald's, friends. Or 3, I don't know what a food chain in science would be. I'm only familiar with fast food chains, right? Lots of restaurants that are owned by the same company. That's not the kind of food chain we're talking about today. Today's food chain, 2 one-syllable words, food chain, is a noun, and it's a sequence of plants and animals in which each feeds on the one below it. So if you have a food chain, you're looking at what's at the top of the food chain, what it eats, what the thing below it eats. So, for example, my dad is an omnivore. That means that he likes to eat plants and animals. And so if we wanted to look at a food chain, if he ate a steak, beef steak is made from cow. So my dad would be at the top of the food chain and he would eat the cow, and the cow would eat the grass. And the grass gets its nutrients from the soil and the water and the air. And that would be the food chain. Okay. Here's another example of food chain. Cats and mice are part of a food chain, right? Mice will eat grains and plants, and then the cats eat the mice. In our country, nothing really eats the cats. That's not always true in other countries. Well, I guess we have coyotes here. So coyotes might eat your cat. They would be at the top of that food chain. Okay, food chain. How well do you know food chain now? Write it down. You need food chain, noun, a sequence of plants and animals in which each feeds on the one below it. All right. Next word. Level. How well do you know level when we're talking about a scientific use of level? Do you know it very well? Do you think you could tell me what it means in science if I'm talking about the word level? Maybe a little. You've seen it in some of our reading, or maybe not at all. Write down level in your notebook. A level is a noun, level, 2 syllables, and it's how high or low something is. So the level in my water glass right now is low because I've been drinking water all afternoon and I haven't refilled it. level. Okay, let's give you another example here of level. In a drought, hey, we just had that word, drought, the water level falls. So when there's not rain for a long time, the water level falls. In a drought, the water level falls. So you can see if you've been out to Lake Mead, where the water level used to be when they had a flood, there's that white line. And where it is now is where the water line is now, right? That's the water level, where the water meets the land. Okay? It's how high or low something is. If you need more time for level, please pause the video. We're going to move on to our last word. All right, guys, this is a good one. Speaking of Lake Mead, how well do you know the word river? And I know you're thinking right now, Lake Mead is not a river. You're right, it's not, but it's fed by a river. How well do you know river? Is that a 1, 2, or 3? River, 2 syllables. A noun, a large natural stream of water. A large natural stream of water. So I said, speaking of Lake Mead, because Lake Mead is fed by a river, the Colorado River, which is dammed at the Hoover Dam, and that is what makes Lake Mead, right? So the river, the Colorado River, is a large natural stream of water. Here's another example for you. Some bears catch fish in a river in Alaska. Okay, bears catch fish in a river. And you'll notice the big difference between a river and like a stream or a creek is that rivers are generally large natural streams of water, so they're a lot bigger, and the water is usually flowing. And the water moves in a river towards the ocean, where in like a lake, it can move a little bit because it's part of a river, but it's not moving a lot. Okay, river. That's the last word today in your vocabulary. I hope you got them all written down. If you need to watch the video to make sure you get them all, you'll want to do that because you're going to need these definitions and parts of speech and the correct spelling on these words to add them to your My Vocabulary notebook on Wednesday. All right, I'll be back tomorrow with some academic vocabulary. I know you're so excited. Me too.